right, so this is lesson 4, the last lesson of the polynomials unit. We're multiplying polynomials and monomials today. So we're going to do it again visually with an area model first for the students who prefer that, or for those who it helps them understand, and then we're going to do it symbolically afterwards. Okay, so remember when we're multiplying, we like to think of it as like length times width, and then see what rectangle is created. That's going to be the result. So when I multiply x times x, I get a square that is x squared. It's going to be positive. And then here I'll have another square that's x squared. And then here I'm going to have 4 rectangles that are all x. So I get 2x squared plus x. Now what this really represents is, I can show you here, this x is being multiplied with the 2x to give 2x squared, and then the x is being multiplied with the 4 to give, should be 4x, to give 4x. So we're using the distributive property when we multiply like this. Okay, let's try one more. So here we have negative 2x as the length and 3x plus 1 as the width, and we're going to fill in what we get as the result. So this will be negative times a positive is negative, and then I'll have another negative x squared, just filling the space up, another negative x squared, another negative x squared, and one more, and one more. That is the result we get when we multiply negative 2x with 3x. That's going to be our negative x squared. And then along here, I'm going to have negative x and negative x. So I'll have negative 2x. That's the result we get when we multiply negative 2 with 1. So we need to use the distributive property. Essentially, this term gets multiplied with both terms on the inside of the bracket. Okay, let's practice doing it without a picture. Okay, so again, we're doing the distributive. You've seen this property before in your solving equations units. Distributive property. When we have a term that's multiplying some terms that are inside a bracket, what that bracket is there for is it's saying essentially that this 5 needs to multiply to everything inside the bracket. So what we're going to end up with here is 5 times 4x, and this will be negative actually because it's negative 10, minus 5 times 10. So let's simplify that. 5 times 4 is 20, so we'll have 20x, and 5 times 10 is 50. So the 5 gets multiplied with the 4x and the 10. Let's do one with 3 terms inside the bracket. So here we're going to have negative 2x is going to get multiplied with x squared, with 3x, and with 7, all 3. So our final answer will have 3 separate terms. Let's see what we get. So we get negative 2x times x squared. That's term number 1. Then we have positive, because we'll have 2 negatives here, 2x times 3x. That's this one. And then minus 2x times 7. And that is the last one. Okay, now let's simplify. So here, remember we add the exponents when we're multiplying, so it'll be x cubed. Here, remember we multiply the numbers together, so 2 times 3 is 6. And then x times x is x squared. And then finally, 2 times 7 is 14. If you need to review how to multiply monomials together, go check out my previous lesson where I go over that. Okay, last one. We're going to take this 3a and it's going to multiply to every single term on the inside. This one's a little bit trickier because we have more than one variable. So we have 3a times 5a squared Once you get comfortable, you actually can skip this step that I'm doing right now. You don't have to write it out. 3a times 9b. Okay, now let's simplify those. So 3 times 5 is 15, and then a times a squared is a cubed. Second term now, 3 times 2 is 6, a times a is a squared, and then we have a single b there that cannot be combined with the a's. And finally, we have 3 times 9, which is 27, and a times b, which cannot be combined, so we just write a, b. All right, awesome. So let's do a connection now to our geometry. We're going to write an expression for the volume of this, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that you can see it. Okay, so volume is of a prism, a rectangular prism, is length times width times height. So for this prism, it's going to be 2x multiplied with 5 multiplied with 3x minus 1. So when we're doing multiplication, we can do it in any order we like. So first thing I'm going to do is just combine these two terms, the 2x and the 5. So 2x times 5 is 10x. And now I'm going to use the distributive property to multiply the 10x in here. And I'm going to start a new line. So it's going to be 10x times 3x minus 10x times 1. So we'll have 30x squared minus 10x. All right. Lastly, we're going to do some more complicated questions. If you want a challenge, you could pause the video here and try these on your own. I am going to zoom back in so we can see them a little bit better. We have two distributive properties to do here, and then we're going to add all the like terms together at the end. So we have to use the order of operations here. So I'm going to do the multiplications first, and then I'm going to add terms afterwards. So this 5x is multiplying everything that's in this bracket. So it's going to multiply with the 3x and the negative 1. And then over here we have this 1/2, and it's going to multiply with everything in this bracket with the 4x and the 8. So let's go ahead and do those multiplications first. So when 5x gets multiplied with 3x, we get 15x squared. And then when 5x gets multiplied with negative 1, we get negative 5x. Okay, those are the yellow terms done. Now I'm going to move on to the blue. When 1/2 multiplies with 4x, 1/2 of 4 is 2, so it would be 2x. And then 1/2 times 8 is 4. And then very last, we're going to add any like terms together. So there are two like terms here, negative 5x and 2x. We're going to combine those together. So we get 15x squared minus 3x plus 4 as our final answer. Okay, you go ahead and try this one, pause the video, and then come back to check. So we have to do multiplication first because of BEDMAS. So I'm going to distribute that 3, and then I'm going to distribute the negative 6y. So we'll have 3 times 4y squared, so it'll be 12y squared, and 3 times 5y, so it'll be 15y. And we have negative 6y times 2y, so negative 12y squared, and negative 6y times negative 1, the negatives cancel to give us positive 6y. Okay, lastly, we're going to collect any like terms. I do have two sets of them here. So we'll put those together. We have 12y squared minus 12y squared, which actually is 0. So we don't need to include it in our final answer. And then we have 15y plus 9y, which is 21y. And that's our final answer. And this question kind of illustrates to you why we might want to learn how to do this, because that's called simplifying. It's making it a lot simpler. Like what we ended up with actually is technically equivalent to like what we started with. Those two expressions are the same, but this answer is way, way simpler. And so when we do higher levels of math and we use these expressions to solve problems, it's way easier to work with this simpler version than it is to work with the more complex version that we started with. All right, that is the end of the lesson.